So let's journey back in time, to the heart of medieval southern India. This was a place dominated by two colossal powers, two empires that rose, clashed, and left a mark that you can still see today. We're diving into the incredible story of the Vijayanagara Empire and the Bahmani Sultanate, a pair of rivals whose fates were completely and forever tangled together.
And that brings us to the big question, right? How did this happen? How did two massive empires spring up, fight for dominance, and then collapse, all in the same part of the world around the same time? It's a wild story of parallel ambition, competing cultures, and in the end, two very, very different fates. We're going to trace their journeys side by side to see what made them tick and what ultimately led to their downfall.
All right, so every story has a beginning. And what's just fascinating here is that both of these empires pretty much exploded onto the scene in the 14th century. They were forged almost at the exact same moment, born out of the chaos and opportunity of the time.
So on one side, you have the Vijayanagara Empire, founded by two brothers, Harihara and Bukka, from the Sangama dynasty. And then, just a few years later, boom! The Bahmani Sultanate is established by the incredibly ambitious Alauddin Bahman Shah. From the get-go, you've got these two very different cultures, two different powers, set on what feels like an inevitable collision course.
You know, it's one thing to found an empire. It's a whole other challenge to lead it to greatness. And both of these powers had these incredible golden ages, times of immense wealth, amazing art, and just a real flourishing of culture. And for each of them, that absolute peak is defined by one single iconic leader.
For the Vijayanagara Empire, that icon was an emperor who became a true legend. I mean, this was a man whose name became totally synonymous with the empire's greatest achievements in everything, from art and literature to, of course, conquest.
And that man was Krishna-Devaraya. What's interesting is he was from the Tuluva dynasty, so he wasn't part of the original founding family, but he's hands down considered the greatest ruler in the empire's entire history. Under his leadership, Vijayanagara reached its absolute zenith. It was a true cultural and military powerhouse.
And we had this amazing little window into their society, thanks to a Portuguese writer named Nunes who was there at the time. He wrote that women in the empire weren't just doing what you'd expect. No, they were experts in, get this, wrestling, astrology, and even accounting. Just stop and think about that for a second. It's a detail that totally shatters our typical picture of what life was like back then.
Now, to get a handle on the Bahmani Sultanate's golden age, we first need to understand a really key position in their government, the vizier. The simplest way to think about it is like a prime minister, an incredibly powerful advisor who often was the real force guiding the entire state.
See, the Bahmani Sultanate's peak was shaped by a different kind of power. It wasn't really about the king, but about the kingmaker, the brilliant vizier, Mahmud Gawan. He was actually a Persian merchant who rose through the ranks to become the true architect of the Sultanate's power. It was his administrative genius and his love for education. He even founded a massive college that really cemented the kingdom's strength.
But you know how these stories go. No golden age lasts forever. The final chapter for our two rivals was incredibly dramatic, but their roads to ruin were completely different. One ended with a sudden, violent bang, and the other just sort of slowly crumbled from the inside out.
For the Vijayanagara Empire, the end came in a single catastrophic event, the Battle of Talakota. This one devastating defeat just shattered the empire's power. It led to the sacking of their capital city, and that was it. The whole thing collapsed. A sudden, violent, and final end.
But the Bahmani Sultanate's end was nothing like that. There was no final epic battle. Its end was a slow splintering, caused by fighting from within, as ambitious nobles basically tore it apart piece by piece. The once mighty kingdom didn't fall in a day. It just fractured into these 5 smaller, independent sultanates. So even though their political power completely vanished, these empires didn't just disappear from the face of the earth. They left behind these incredible echoes of their greatness, legacies carved into stone that still tell the story of their magnificent past.
And you can literally go and see this legacy for yourself. The ruins of Hampi, which was the glorious capital of the Vijayanagara Empire, are just breathtaking. And right there, at its heart, the Virupaksha Temple is still standing. It's a structure that has survived for centuries, a silent testament to the empire's incredible faith, wealth, and artistry.
So, as we look back on these stories of Krishna-Devaraya and Mahmud Gawan, of epic battles and lost kingdoms, we're left with this one big question. When an empire is gone, when it turns to dust, what's its true legacy? Is it the memory of its great leaders? Or is it the silent, enduring stones of the cities they built? What do you think really lasts?